Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Ayşe Süberker. The Turkish parliament recently approved extending the deployment of its troops in Libya for 2 more years. The presidential motion says this is necessary to maintain the political dialogue in the country. Libya, with rival governments based in the east and west, is currently under a ceasefire that came into effect in 2020. Ankara supports the western side but has just hosted an official of the eastern government. So what could that mean? While there are efforts to hold Libya's long-delayed elections, the past months have added to the country's huge list of crises. Clashes broke out in the capital Tripoli in August, followed by flash floods that devastated the northeast, leaving thousands of people dead, with many more missing. The tragedy triggered massive protests against the eastern government over its failure to deliver humanitarian aid. The UN has warned that a delay in elections could lead to more turmoil in the country. Ankara, which supports the UN-backed government in Tripoli, signed several security and maritime agreements and has long called for a peaceful solution to Libya's deep divisions. Could its efforts as a mediator help bring all parties together? And to discuss the recent updates from Libya, joining me now from Exeter, the UK, is Ferhat Polat. He's a researcher at University of Exeter. And from London, Juma El-Gamati. He is the head of Taghir Party in Libya. A warm welcome to you both, and thanks for joining me on Straight Talk. So, Juma, can you walk us through what's been happening in Libya since 2020 after the warring sides reached a tentative ceasefire? I mean, what's the political situation in the country?
Well, the good thing is that there has not been any more war or violence. The ceasefire is holding. However, there have been a lot of attempts, especially led by the United Nations mission to Libya, UNSMIL, to actually broker a political deal and a political map that will deliver ultimately elections that will renew political legitimacy. But we haven't seen any conclusion of that yet. So for the last 3 years, Tripoli and Libya has been stable, no violence, no war, and but the political process is very slow and very tedious and very difficult as we expect, and as has been the case for the last 12 years.
Sure. So, Ferhat, how involved are the international actors in Libya's domestic politics? I mean, what's at stake for the international community to have a stable country in Africa's north?
I mean, there are between 6 and 10 countries involved in the Libyan conflict, and they support different factions, and especially since 2014. And some of the countries, unfortunately, deepened the conflict in Libya by supporting different militia groups. And the United Nations has been trying to facilitate peace conferences and trying to find a roadmap to find a political solution to the Libyan crisis. But so far, it has not been effective, and because of the internal division and also some external actors that I mentioned deepen the conflict by supporting different militia groups.
So, Juma, Turkey has extended the mandate of the Turkish troops in the country for another 2 years. What do you make of this, and how would you define Turkey's relations with both the international recognized government as well as the rival Tobruk administration?
Well, first of all, let me say that Turkey's relationship with Libya as a whole is very strategic, is very deep-rooted in history, and is very strong. It's a relationship that's built on not just geography and history, but on very strong social and cultural bonds as well.
Yes.
Secondly, this extension of the agreement or of the stay of the military advisors and military support in Libya is very much welcome. This is based on a security agreement which was struck almost 4 years ago between Turkey and the Fayez Sarraj government, then when Tripoli was under a major heavy military attack by Haftar. So that agreement, that security agreement, actually allowed Turkey to provide vital military assistance to the legitimate government of Fayez Sarraj, which then managed to defend Tripoli, defend political legitimacy, and save Libya from being taken over by Haftar and being slid into back into military rule. So now this extension by Turkey is very much welcome. It's important. It keeps the balance, and I think it keeps peace in Libya, and it prevents the other side in the east from even thinking about going back to military campaign and taking power by military. So it's very much a welcome move, I'm sure.
So Ferhat, the Speaker of the Turkey Tobruk Parliament, Akila Salah, was received by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Wednesday to inform him of the plans to form a new unity government to lead Libya to elections. So what do you make of this visit? I mean, why would he come here and inform the Turkish president, considering he is the Speaker of the Tobruk-based parliament and used to be a supporter of warlord Khalifa Haftar?
I mean, despite the close collaboration between Ankara and Tripoli, and Turkey and also eastern side has been trying to seeking reconciliation, and Ankara and the Tobruk-based parliament, also Agila Salih, signaled its willingness to establish closer ties with eastern side, because Turkey is one of the prominent external players, and he has been supporting internationally recognized government and supporting United Nations-led peace process. And also it is imperative to note that when disaster happened in Derna in September, as a case in point, Turkey was one of the first countries to respond, and indeed Ankara had already taken steps to in this direction well before this disaster, but Turkey has been trying to reach out to both sides and find a common ground, how to find a political solution to this crisis. And it is important also, this is quite, and in Agila Salih also last year visited Ankara and had a meeting with President Erdogan. And most recently also Turkish Business Association with Libya, and they had a trade and fair exhibition in Benghazi, which is the first time since the country's revolution in 2011. Yes. What are the significant developments? And I think further steps will be taken to improve bilateral relationship with Benghazi and eastern side, and Agila Salih could play a significant role.
Yes.
At this point, Turkey seems to still support the Bey's government in Tripoli, and it's other alternative solutions.
So, Juma, it seems that Turkey is also engaging with the country's eastern region. So could it play a facilitating role for the normalization between the two rival parliaments, and how deep do these hostilities run between them?
I think it's very important for Turkey to extend contacts and open channels with all the main stakeholders in Libya. And I think since a year ago, Turkey's ambassador to Tripoli, Kenan Yilmaz, has visited Tripoli many times and met with Agila Salih and the local mayors of Benghazi and others, and also discussed opening up the Turkish consulate in Benghazi to facilitate people from the east traveling to Turkey, which is a very popular destination for all Libyans. So I think it's important by Turkey having good relations and good channels with all key stakeholders who believe in democracy, who believe in elections, who believe in setting up a proper constitutional state that can only help the Libyan sides come together. So Turkey is a key facilitator, and I'm glad that President Erdogan received Agila Salih, because Agila Salih is now pushing for elections and pushing for a new government that will be a technocratic, independent government that can oversee those elections. And I think Turkey's support for this initiative and for this roadmap is going to be absolutely vital, as well as the support of other key countries in the region, like Egypt, like the United States, and so on. So I think Turkey's role has changed over the last 2 years, and it's changed to a positive role, opening up channels and dealing with all key stakeholders and bringing Libyan sides together, which can only be for the good of the country and stabilizing the country permanently, inshallah.
So, Ferhat, how will Turkey's normalization with other regional countries, as Juma just mentioned, like Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia, change the political landscape in Libya? I mean, could they coordinate efforts to hold transparent and fair elections in the country, or do they have diverging approaches?
I mean, the countries that you mentioned, and especially countries who supported Khalifa Haftar's offensive in 2019, namely United Arab Emirates and Egypt and other countries, including France and Russia, they still have strong influence on Haftar sides because Haftar doesn't have such army, and he has different militia groups and mercenaries, and especially from Wagner that Russia has provided. But since the reconciliation started and the reconciliation process launched between Turkey and other countries, including Egypt, UAE, and Saudi, which has positive impact on the Libyan conflict because Turkey is supporter and main supporter of the Tripoli side, and the other countries support the eastern side. If they come and agree on certain principles of holding elections and finding a way to facilitate those elections, and which will have positive impact. And so far, as Guma mentioned earlier, there has been no major armed conflict, but there is still possibility. So if those countries agree on principles of holding elections, which we will see more positive impacts on the ground.
So, Juma, amid all these developments, what's the position of this warlord, Khalifa Haftar, who tried to, take over the capital a few years ago? I mean, is he still being supported by Arab countries and Gulf countries as well as Russia, or has that changed too?
I think he has less support from Egypt, possibly a less engagement from the UAE, from the Emirates, but definitely much more support from Russia and from the Wagner mercenary group, which is now well entrenched in Libya. We saw that the Russian Deputy Defense Minister Yunus has visited Haftar a few times and trying to strengthen those military cooperation. So Haftar maybe has given up on the idea that he can take over power by force and control Libya completely by force. But now probably he wants himself, or possibly more important, his influential sons, to have a more permanent role militarily, not just militarily, but politically and economically as well. The question is, can the other Libyan stakeholders somehow accommodate Haftar? Can he actually play a positive, peaceful role in stabilizing Libya? That is yet to be seen. But whatever happens, Haftar is much less powerful and much less influential than 3-4 years ago. And he's only one of the stakeholders. There are many others who are very important, especially in the west of Libya. And I think everybody now is pushing forward to stabilize the country as soon as possible so that we can begin the major task of reconstruction and development and modernization in earnest. Libya has a huge potential, and I think it can achieve a lot. And I think countries like Turkey can contribute a lot to the major reconstruction, rebuilding and modernization of Libya and stability for decades to come, inshallah.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.